Okay, now here we go. Some questions related to information systems we've just completed. Which of the following is not a threat to information systems? Mind the word, this is important. You need to know. Not a threat. These are what you call the questions twister. Not a threat. It says, what happened? Trojan horses, yes, it's a risk. We discussed it in our class. It's a risk. Worms, yes, it's a risk. Theft, yes, it's a risk. Trojan horses, worms, theft, they're all risk. Serendipity, basically, it's an English term, means a pleasant surprise. And this is the typical example I gave you. Let's say you have a 100 Riyal bill in your pocket and you forget to use it, and your pajamas get washed up. And after a month or so, you just put your hand in your pocket and you are pleasantly surprised that there's a 100 Riyal bill in your pocket. This is called serendipity. There is a pleasant surprise. So this is clearly not what you're looking for. So this is not a threat to information system. A, B, C, R, this is not a threat. Serendipity, there's a movie also with this name, Serendipity, and it's a very good movie, a romantic movie. Serendipity is a pleasant surprise. So it is not a threat to information system. It's a nonsense answer, in fact, a nonsense term. Okay, next. Data processed by computer systems are usually transferred to some form of output medium for storage. Whatever you produce it in the form of printed documents or whether it's in the digital form, it has to be stored somewhere. However, the presence of computerized output does not in and of itself ensure that the output is accurate, complete, and authentic. There's a concept that you need to learn in computer sciences called GIGO. Garbage in, garbage out. If you put the garbage in the system, if your input is flawed, if your input is not accurate, your output will also be not accurate, right? So it says that, however, the presence of computerized output does not in and for itself ensure the output is accurate, complete, and authenticity. It depends upon the input also. If you input the right information, right data, only then you will get the right output, right? So for this assurance, various controls are needed. Since we need accurate output, so you should select that option that contains the input control also. You should select the option that contains the input control also. This was the key to this question. If you want to get good, accurate output, you need to have good input. So the major types of controls for this area include transaction controls, journal controls, and printout controls. I will reject this option because I do not see any input control here. I need good input controls. Fizzer, excellent. Fizzer is going well. Excellent, Fizzer. Activity listings, echo checks that we just discussed a little while ago. This is the transmission control. Pre-numbered forms for physical assurance that all the forms are in place, nothing is missing. Activity listing will show what went wrong. Error listing, something, what transactions were processed, what were not processed, what were erroneous. We need good input controls. Tape and disk output controls and printed output. This is incorrect also because they are all output related. We need a good set of input controls. Look at this. Input controls, yes. Tape and disk output controls, we rarely use these tape and disk anymore. Most of the data is now stored on servers. And printed output form. So this option is the best amongst all because it takes care of what we discussed a little while ago, input controls. Because if you have good input, only then you will have good output. Garbage in, garbage out. Good input, good output. So that makes D to be the correct option. Excellent. Next. In the organization of information system function, the most important separation of duties, gentlemen, ladies, please note, we are not IT experts. None of us are. I believe most of you are professional accountants. So just please note that rules of computer system are no different than the rules of real world. So if you can just replicate the real world into the computer system, think that something similar to what we have in the real world will be in the computer world, because rules are the same. We want to control in the real world, in the physical world through papers. We want similar control, similar check and balance in the computer systems also. right? So computer system, just replication of the real world. So if you are not an IT expert, at least you can just use your common sense and still be able to do good at IT section of your exam. In the organization of the information system function, the most important separation of duties, we have read segregation of duties, and what the idea we discussed was CAR. Custody, authorization, record keeping, and reconciliation must be segregated to 4 different individuals or group of individuals. That's what we discussed. Now, the same idea is to be applied on this IT system. It says the most important separation of duties means these 4 options, one of them contains a combination which is incompatible, which is not suitable. Let us discuss these one by one. Not allowing the data librarian to assist in data processing operations. We don't have data librarians now. Consider this person to be the one who loads computer program and makes them run on the server. So he is the one, this is his job. This is what he does. He takes the program in and out. He's the one who decide what is to be done. So this is his job. So this is perfectly fine. We are looking for the one where there is a problem. That's incompatible combination of duties. Assuring that those responsible for programming the system do not have access to operations. This is something I especially emphasized during my class, that those who are programming, those who are the one who write the code, they should not be allowed to process the operation. They must not be the data entry operators. Programmers and operators must be clearly segregated. Clearly segregated. If they are not, then there is a risk that a programmer might alter the code and he's the one who is processing the data. He's the input, the one who enters the input. So there must, this classification or this category must be segregated. These 2 must be separate group of individuals. Programmers and the data entry operators must be segregated. This is essential. What about the others? Let us discuss others also. So this is not right. Nothing wrong here. Having a separate information officer at the top level of the organization outside the accounting function, fine. This is usually the case. The person in information officer must be outside accounting department. This is fine. Using different programming personnel to maintain utility programs and application programs. Application programs like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint do a specific work for us, specific job for us. Utility programs are the programs that are used for system maintenance. Like disk defragmenter is a utility program that maintains the system. So they are for the system maintenance, and they are for the application programs like Windows, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So using different programming personnel, there is no such distinction required. A person can use utility programs and application can be written by the same. So there's no such issue. The problem here that you have to have your programmers and data entry operators, they must be separate individuals, not same. Right? Otherwise, there is no issue at all. There's no issue in ABC. This is something that should not happen. Because programmers and operators must be separate individuals or separate group of individuals. This one. To properly, maybe you will take more time doing these questions when you're studying yourself. Doesn't matter if you get it wrong, because you have a very good justification, Shamsu. We are not IT experts. We are accountants, right? So just try to make sense out of the options and then just try to convince, try to apply the real world knowledge into the computer world, and still you will be able to get something out of it. To proper control access to the accounting database files, the database administrator should ensure that database system features are in place to permit. Let me specify what are we looking for. The database system features are in place to permit what is allowed, what is valid under the given situation. Read-only access to the database files. Just think about it. If you are given the read-only access to database file, then how, as a data entry operator, how can I change it? If you are in the account receivable department, how will you update the customer's account? If you just have the read-only access, mean you can just read only, you can't change. This is not right. Updating from privileged utilities. Utilities are used, utility software, they're used for system maintenance. They're not used to update the database. This is incorrect again. Access only to authorized logical views. This is absolutely right. Excellent, Fraser. You got it correct. Access only to the authorized logical view means a person who is in the account receivable department can only see the AR system. A person who is in the accounts payable can only see the accounts payable system. This is what he is authorized to do. Only access to the authorized logical view to which you are entitled to. So this is correct. Vikas, you got it right answer. Excellent. Right. So this makes sense. This is the correct option. What about D? User updates of their access profile. Absolutely not. This is a very serious situation. This should not happen. Users should never ever be allowed to update their own profile. I cannot allow myself to check A, B, C, D. This is done by system database administrator, not me. Users should never be able to update their own access profile, what they can and cannot see. What a user can or cannot see, this is not determined by the user. Right? So this is wrong. So what the correct option we got is that access only the authorized logical view. This is what the job of database administrator is, that who should see what, who is entitled to do what. So that makes C to be the correct option. Next, data input validation routines. We don't understand routines. We just know what is something that will validate the input. Nowadays, know your customer is allowed by the user, right? Exactly. Data input validation routine include data input validation. What we get from this, that we need to see where do we have an input control? Which of these is input control? Terminal logs tell us who logged in system at what time and from which terminal. This is not an input validation routine. It's not an input control. Password, it's an access control. It's an access control. Who access what? Who can access what? Hash totals, yes. Hash total is an input control. Hash total is the sum of your passwords. Sorry, not passwords. Sum of your ikamas, sum of your passports numbers, not password. Sum of your CNIC numbers. Any total of numbers which is meaningful for us, which is a kind of control. Like I gave you an example, like your company has 500 employees and every person has a unique IKAMA number. So adding these IKAMA numbers will give you a specific total. If any number is changed, the total will not come what it should be. So you will know that there's something wrong, right? So hash total, it's an input validation routine that only the valid input enters the system. If there is anything fictitious, fake, it will come out. And then we have the backup controls. Of course, this is related to the system backup. So this is the input validation routine, or you can say it's an input control. So this makes C to be the correct option. Next, an accounting system identification code that uses a sum of digits check will detect all of the following errors except. A sum of digit check means in which the system adds up, like you have an invoice number 10132. The sum of digits check will add these digits 1 + 1, 2, 4, 3, 7. Is this result valid? There should be some check and balances within the system. Yes, valid. Okay, process this invoice. So sum of digit check will add up the digits and a certain number will come, and only then the data will be processed. Now the question says an accounting information system code that uses sum of digit check will detect all of the following errors except. Completeness error, yes. This error will be identified if any of the number is missing or the sum is not what it should be, it will be identified. Transcription error, the error of entry, you input the wrong numbers, this will be identified because sum will not be what will come. Validity errors, this will also be identified. What sum of digits cannot cache, cannot identify is the transposition error. Now take this example. If this is the invoice number, if by mistake I have written 11032, the sum is still 7. So it appears there's a valid invoice, but it is not. 13102, sum is still 7. Still it's valid. So this is the problem with sum of digits. If the digits are transposed, they're changed in the arrangement of the numbers, the sum would still be the same, but it will still be an invalid number. So sum of digits check will not be able to identify A transposition error, I'm sure accountants know one of the mistakes you would have studied in your graduation course in accounting is transpositional error. The amount we were supposed to enter was 14,013, but instead we wrote 14130. This is what you call the transpositional error. Sum of digits cannot cache this, others it can. So that would make C to be the correct option. Transposition error, this is the error sum of digits check cannot identify. Others A, B, and D it can. Next. All right. In order to detect and correct errors, prevent errors, detect errors and correct errors, and authorize tampering, a payroll system should have adequate controls. Payroll system. We discussed payroll cycle also. The best set of controls for a payroll system includes, let us discuss these one by one. Batch and hash total. We have got 5,000 employees and their total of ICAMA numbers is this, and this is what should be. Perfect. That's a very good input control. Record counts, 5,000 payroll slips, proper separation of duties, payroll records are maintained by someone else, custody of cash is someone else, record keeping is separate, and authorization to generate payroll is given to separate. This is correct, yes. Separation of duties, password and user codes, who can do what is endorsed through passwords, backup copies of activities and master files. See, all these controls are there. You have the input controls, you have the processing controls also, record counts of each run, and at the same time you have output controls. You will read BCD and you will find one of these missing. Some of the options might miss input control, some of them might miss processing control, some of them might miss output control. But this combination, you see, people, this is the one that contains all the good set of controls: input, output, and processing. That's what we discussed, Vikas. You're absolutely right in our overview that your controls are implemented at input, output, and processing at 3 levels simultaneously. Only then you will be able to have good system of internal controls, good output, reliable output. Next, an employee in the receiving department where the goods are received keyed in a shipment from a remote terminal. What does it mean? This is your mainframe and your receiving department is right here, and he has this terminal placed in his office. So what this employee did, he keyed in a shipment, some shipment came, he entered the shipment from a remote terminal and inadvertently, unknowingly omitted the purchase order number. Purchase order number was missed, it was blank. He should have entered the purchase order number, but he just missed unknowingly. Now, it should not have happened. The best system control to detect this error, how we can detect this error? Batch totals, how many shipments were received? 10. There are 10. So this batch total will not help. 10, no, 10 shipments were received, 10 were entered, so batch is fine. Completeness test, yes. Are all fields filled? Have we filled all the fields? Purchase order number, shipment number, date, driver's name, driver's ICAMA number, everything is there? Yes. This is the one. Completeness test is the one that will reveal if there's anything missing. So this is the one we should have. Sequence check. This is interesting. Yes, departure time, arrival time. Sequence check. First shipment we received was against the purchase order number 101. So as a receiving clerk, I will not enter anything unless I receive a purchase order number 102. So for that, I may have to wait 1 month. This is ridiculous. In the real-time online system, we don't follow sequence check. Purchase order 101, fine. Purchase order number 110, fine. Enter. Whichever purchase order comes, keep on entering without looking for the sequence. Sequence is unreasonable. It is inappropriate for real online system. Whatever, just like in the banking system, whichever check comes for the teller, he will encash it. He will not see the check's order, whether the check number 101, 112, and then I should receive check 113. Whichever check is presented to the teller at the bank, he will encash it or he will deposit it. He won't wait for the sequence. So this is where sequence is inappropriate. Reasonableness test. the amount entered is reasonable, date entered is reasonable, this is not an issue. The issue is that a purchase order number was completely missed. It can be caught through this test, completeness test, that every element that should be entered has been entered. So this is the one we are looking for. Next, which of the following statements concerning concurrent auditing technique is false? Concurrent auditing. Concurrent auditing means you input the data and it is audited simultaneously. We discussed this a little while ago. Input the data, audit is conducted at the same time. So which of the following statement concerning concurrent auditing technique is false? They allow monitoring a system on continuous basis for fraudulent transaction. This is true. This is absolutely true. Because concurrent auditing means the input is entered and it is audited immediately. This is correct. We're looking for the item which is false. Next. They are most useful in complex online systems in which the audit trails have either become diminished or very limited. We don't have to wait for 1 month. We want to test the transactions for audit purpose as soon as it is entered in the real online system. Entries made, thak checked, made, thak checked. Right? So we want to do it simultaneously as the net entry is made and it is audited immediately or quickly, as quickly as possible. So this is true. They allow faster detection and of unauthorized transaction. This is again true. They will detect unauthorized transaction quickly because it is concurrent. As soon as the entry is made, it is tested for audit significance. So this is true. A is true, B is true, C is true. What is not true is D. They are standard component of generic software package. No, they are not a component of standard. You purchase a software, accounting software from the market, off the shelf, also called bespoke system. It will not always contain the auditing modules, what you call the embedded audit modules. It is to be developed. It is to be obtained. Yes. So it has to be obtained to make a part of the accounting system. So it's not that every software you buy, it always have an audit embedded module. It has to be embedded in the system. Most of the customized softwares that we develop for our company, for our organization, for that system, we generate or we make up a separate customized audit embedded module that helps us in concurrent auditing. As the transactions are taking place, they are audited simultaneously. Yes, it will cost more. Yes, absolutely, it will cost more. My friend, whatever we do, Vikas, whatever we do, as a businessman, we always keep the benefit and cost parameters in mind. If I'm going to make a customized software, definitely I would have found the benefit to be more than cost. Otherwise, if it is expensive to make the in-house system, I should purchase off the shelf, but it might cost less, but it will also give you less benefits. Right? So always you make a decision, benefit versus cost. So definitely, as a decision maker, you would have seen this cost versus benefit. All right. Next. In auditing computer-based system, the integrated test facility, this is what we discussed a little while ago. Integrated test facility. It allows the auditor to assemble test transactions and run them through the computer system to test the integrity of controls on the sample test base. This is the test data. A is test data, not a right option. ITF, integrated test facility, in which we mix erroneous data, we create dummy master files, and then we run those transactions with the client's legitimate transactions. That's what ITF is. That's what we discussed a little while ago. So A is not correct. Is a set of specialized software routines and that are designed to perform specialized audit tests and store audit evidence. That is, we just discussed a little while ago, GAS. Generally, that's the software we use for auditing. So this is not it. ITF is different. This is the generalized audit software. ACL, IDEA, we discussed this a little while ago. Let me show you. This is it. This is generalized audit software, and I gave you two examples. One is the ACL, and other is IDEA. These are the two generalized audit softwares we use in auditing. So this is not it. Then it's a concurrent audit technique that establishes a special set of dummy master files, dummy supplier, dummy customer, dummy employee, dummy department, dummy entity and enters transactions to test programs using the dummy files during the regular process run. And it's quite a risky strategy. It might mess up the client's database, so you need to ensure that you're not messing up things. So guys, I guess it's all for tonight. We have done just overview of the computer-assisted audit techniques and some questions related to input, output, and processing control, and some computer-assisted audit techniques as well.